Greetings and welcome back to StarRupture. Today we are literally picking up where we left off. Hopefully you've enjoyed the playthrough for the tutorial. We are literally just picking up where we left off from the end of the tutorial. We have got a bit of a modest setup going here. We've got a couple of miners. Well, I've only got one mining this stuff, which Wolfram, that's it. Oh, I nearly forgot. We're gonna see if we can get a few more miners going for Wolfram. Do we need them? Probably not, but I do like to just go a bit overboard when it comes to mining. So yeah, let's get that bit of the exercise underway. While we're doing that, I will give you a bit of background on what's happening. This is a day after I did the voiceover for the tutorial, so I'm probably still sounding a bit on the unwell side, and well, no surprise to anyone, that is because I am feeling a bit on the unwell side. I've got a chest cold flu thing that's been going around, and honestly, I freaking hate it. I don't know if I prefer to have this sort of thing in winter or in summer, but honestly, does anyone ever prefer to have a cold or a flu at any time? Normally I get one that kicks the stink out of me every, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, but I feel like it hasn't been that long since the last one. Now, I do get flu shots. They're provided free as part of my employment. They're optional, obviously, but I do take them up on those flu shots, and normally they do a pretty good job. But this year, don't know. Maybe I was just due to get one. Maybe I wasn't, but whatever. We're dealing with it. We're taking our pills. We're taking our cough syrups. We're hacking up a lung first thing in the morning. I'll spare you any of the other gory details to do with yeah, no, I'm gonna spare you the gory details anyway. We're doing a little bit more with, oh yes, power. As you can see there, we have 45 worth of power currently in use, and we have a total of 90 power available to our factory. And for the moment, it's all ticking over quite nicely. So we're happy enough with this, but as we move ahead with our unlocks for our corporations, we're going to inevitably need to add to this as we need to build more and more complex items. So it is a little bit like Satisfactory in that regard, but at least for the amount that I've played, it doesn't feel as complex. That might just be because I'm not having to deal with belts and power and the inevitable headaches that come with those. This rail system is just a bomb. I just love it. And I think that's potentially StarRupture is going to be a game that may interest some people that maybe they like the survival games, maybe they like the first-person shooter. Oh wait, sorry, that's a bit of a spoiler. Maybe they like the factory games, but they've been a bit put off in trying to get into them because of the complexity. I feel like potentially StarRupture might be a bit of an introductory game for those people into this kind of factory builder, but also, you know, storylines and all the rest of it to make it more immersive. So if you are kind of ticking that box, that's freaking awesome. I seem to have piqued a little bit of interest. Hey Citizen Z, thanks for your comment on the last video. Yeah, I'm absolutely loving this system. It's freaking awesome. I mean, I'm a huge factory, you know, game person anyway. I do find them a bit tedious sometimes, but if there's enough of a story or there's enough of other things going on in the background, honestly, I will rack up hours and hours and hours and hours and hours with factories and doing new layouts and all that other stuff. So I'm a bit diehard when it comes to that sort of thing. But I like a bit of variety, which is why I do play a lot of the other games that I play, so like Valheim and Scum and that sort of thing. So Yeah, man, this thing just absolutely kicks ass. And based on the development team, I think there was an update I downloaded in Steam this morning. I haven't read the patch notes on that, but these guys are on it. They are absolutely doing all of the good things that devs should be doing to, address issues, fix bugs, do all that other stuff.
I feel
and
sorry.
It's an early access release, so it is expected, and they are definitely delivering on it. So good work, guys. Anyway, that's a bit of a ramble. I am prone to those for anyone who regularly watches my content. For anyone that's new, well, welcome aboard. The rambles come for free. Now, I've started to look at sort of speeding some of the stuff up that I've more or less done before in previous episodes, or bits that are a little bit tedious. So inevitably the factory stuff, I do spend a lot of time dithering around trying to work out how I'm going to do something. Look, if you really want to see that at the normal speed and you want to risk a bit of drooling on your own behalf, wondering why stuff is taking that long, look, leave me a comment down below. I'll see what I can do to indulge that. But for the rest of it, myself in the editing as well, I like to just skip the super boring stuff where I can. So yeah, there'll be some sped up bits in here. There's a couple of bits that I did just chop just a little bit of travel out of, just where I was returning back to base. But on a whole, I haven't really removed more than maybe a couple of minutes worth of footage in terms of cutting. So the rest of the speeding up is brought us from about a 2-hour recording down to, what do we end up with? About an hour and 12 minutes. So yeah, there'll be some pretty frenetic sped up bits, but again, only really doing it for the factory stuff. And because the connections and all the rest of it for the factory are so intuitive, I feel like you see that process, once or twice, you kind of get the hang of it pretty quick. So yeah, anyway, we're here adding more of these orbital launches. There's 5 corporations in total, but I'm only electing to put in 4 launches for the moment, simply because actually I don't know, I don't have a rational reason why I'm not putting more in, but you don't need a lot. Honestly, you could just do one at a time and you'd probably reach a single goal much quicker because you're not splitting the resources. The downside of that is it means you need to keep coming back to, switch your goal or modify your factory or whatever. So I'm trying to get this set up so that I can just pick 4 separate goals, have all of the right manufacturing and smelting and all the rest of it in line, ready to go. And it doesn't matter if more than one of those requires the same materials. When one's finished, the materials are just auto-funnel to the next one anyway. But by default, it does tend to just auto-split between, like where there's 2 that need the same bars, like we have here. You'll find that it'll send bars to the first one, and it'll send bars to the second one. Yep, there you go. And it'll just look after itself. It is such a good system. I love it to bits. The whole not needing to set up intelligent splitters and all the rest of it just at this basic level, it's just fantastic. I can't give it props enough. I mean, there's complexity in factory games, and then there's, redundant complexity in factory games. And look, it serves its purpose and it provides a challenge. Games like Factorio, it's just part of solving problems in a limited grid. But in this game, because there's so much more to it, you don't want to be spending 30 hours setting up your first decent factory and not doing anything else. It's pointless. I mean, there's so much out there to explore. There's so much out there to research. There's so much out there to, insert something here. And you've got some other challenges to deal with along the way as well. So the factory is great. I appreciate how they've implemented it in the game, but I also appreciate that they haven't added, the usual complexities that are just there for the sake of gameplay rather than having any sort of practical requirement. So yeah, anyway. So basically, separate belts and power. They're the things that tend to make factories a bit more unwieldy in other games. In this one, no, you just hook it up with rails, job done. So, we've done our little setup here. We're routing to 4 separate goals. We're going to go in here and just have a quick look on our corporation board, and sure enough, we've got some progress on 4 of the goals, and they're all just ticking away. Now, of note, the goals I'm working towards, there's one for personal storage, there's one for a weapon. Oh, a weapon? Do we need a weapon in this? Oh yeah, we do, but we'll get to that. It's fine. And there's what is there? I think we're trying to unlock the it's not the research one. Sorry, there's a save point type thing, which we'll talk about when we get to it. And I can't remember what the other one was, but we're just working on getting some more of the essentials unlocked from this first tier in each of the corporations. Given we've now got that ticking away, and given that is going to take a hot minute, I think it might be about time that we get back out into the world and do some of that delicious exploring that this world is just absolutely begging for. So, let's get our feet on the rock and get things going, shall we?
Come here. Acquired. I need to survive.
Alright, we are out and about, we are doing our gathering. Basically, this is one of these survival games where you see a thing, you gather a thing. That's pretty much how it is at the start, simply because a lot of this stuff on the ground, if you don't want to research it, it is actually, a lot of it's edible. Like the orange little puff things, you can eat those. They don't have a lot of calories, but you can eat them. And these hydro bulbs, they are a great water source, and you can drink those effectively. Now, oh, hello. Yes, welcome to the native inhabitants of this lovely planet. And going back to the tutorial, the gal asked you a question about how you
need
feel
to
about
survive.
1 meter tall spiders. Well, those are kind of the spiders that Gal was talking about. In Australia, we just call that a spider. But anyway, enough big spider jokes. We don't have like our first weapon yet, but it is worth noting that this mining tool, it actually does damage to everything. So it is a good, well, good. I'll let you decide whether it's good, but it's a backup weapon. So if you ever run out of ammo, or you maybe haven't, like we are here, we haven't actually reached a point where we've got our first proper weapon, this mining laser is actually quite useful to, you know, destroy things if the need arises. And minor spoiler, we are going to get an opportunity to test that out fairly soon. We've got some more plants to gather and some more exploring to do before that happens though. So let's get back to our see a thing, gather a thing, and yeah, we'll see where that takes us from here.
Gal, what's going on?
You've entered an infection cloud. Microorganism.
So,
Congratulations.
we need a fight
Clever
exposed.
robotics has received its order. A reward for fulfilling the order is waiting for you in the terminal.
Threat eliminated. What was that?
They're vermin, the main threat on this planet.
What do you mean, main?
Most of the people that arrived on Arcadia 7 were eliminated by these creatures. Natural disasters you can prepare for, but vermin are a bit more unpredictable.
Why weren't we told about them?
The IRO imposed a TS9 top-secret clause on their existence. They made very sure no one ever found out about them. Aside from high-ranking officials, only people sent directly to the planet have ever learned of their existence.
Claywood was here. You should have told us. You knew.
And the conspiracy of, I wouldn't even say misinformation, I'd just say the total lack of information continues. This is where we find that Claywood has actually been here on Arcadia before, and has potentially had multiple failed missions here. So that's going to play into our future explorations, because we're going to inevitably come across traces of these, you know, previous explorations of Arcadia 7, and maybe get some useful stuff from them. I'm not going to spoil it. It is something we're going to come across. Probably not so much in this episode, although these, you know, excuse me, these dead bodies and probes that we come across are already a bit of a clue that we're, you know, there's been a presence here by Claywood previously. And, you know, we're just the latest and greatest attempt at trying to get, you know, an investment return upon, you know, from this planet, so to speak, by Claywood. So, yeah, that's pretty much how the Claywood machine works. I guess you could say it's a bit reminiscent of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation from the Aliens universe, and I'm sure there are plenty of other examples out there in the world. And yeah, we are pretty much working on that trope as our sort of background, so to speak. But there's there is some subtlety to it, and as I pointed out in the tutorial, I do love some of the sarcastic humour that comes up from time to time. It just tickles my fancy quite a lot. Yeah, anyway. We're doing the rounds here. We're just going to get some more resources because we have unlocked some new stuff that we can make. You would have seen me putting up a bunch of those personal storage chests. Now you can put those just on the floor, and of course you'll, kick your toe on them all the time, or you can integrate them in the wall, and I found that's a much neater solution. And you can set them up in a grid, like that. Obviously, if you don't have your airlock on that wall, you could do, 12, so 4 across by 3 down on one wall, and I reckon that would probably give you enough to essentially meet all of your early game storage needs. You don't need to store that much. Certainly if you're planning on doing a lot of research, a lot of what we end up looting can just go straight into the research. So I'll leave it up to you to work out what storage system works for you. For me, I like to keep a bit of everything just in case I need it down the track. So yeah. Alright, given we've finished one of the unlocks, we are deciding what our next option is going to be for clever robotics. To get up to level 2, we can either use the Wolfram bars, or we can make a thing called Wolfram wire. Now, to make Wolfram wire, we're going to need I think they're called an assembler, and we don't have access to one of those just yet. So we're going to end up just letting it build up from Wolfram bars. The downside is you inevitably need a lot more of the simplified ingredient to get to the goal, versus if you are able to make the more complex items, so in this case the Wolfram wire. The Wolfram wire counts up more quickly towards your goal. So basically, 1 bar is, I believe, only 1 point towards the 1500 point goal, whereas the Wolfram wire is 5 points per. So inevitably, it motivates you to try and make the complex items because it's going to take a lot less of them to reach your goal, which means you can reach your goal a bit quicker. But for the moment, we're just tiptoeing from one goal to the next because we've got so much more that we can be doing out there, and not the least of which we need a bit more factory floor. And also over there where we first saw our spiders is another resource. It's calcium, and you can see it straight out there. There's actually 4 calcium nodes out there, but that is out beyond the range of the shield that we have. We'll be able to see the range of the shield a little bit later in this episode, so you can get a bit of an idea of how much coverage you get. It is a pretty big area, but we're going to be able to put more than one shield down, so that's not really an issue. But what I want to do is just create an elevated walkway here to get from one location to the next. Inevitably, we're probably going to want to pipe the calcium in some level back to our main factory. So why not have a walkway that we can just run it alongside of? So that's kind of my thinking here, and we are just going to go ahead with that plan. And with the undulating terrain, you'll find that the supported platform, which is what I always tend to use, the pillar it can sit on, it has limits, and you'll find periodically that you'll go to do this and it will say it's not attached to the ground, and it'll turn red. See, there we go. When that happens, you got a couple of choices. One of them is you can manually put in your own pillar support, and I tried that in the co-op early access, and it's not an elegant solution. Look, if you get super stuck, then obviously, you know, do what you need to do. But in terms of just for this walkway, it's easier to just put in a few stairs, drop down a level, and just carry on. So that is what we're doing. We're also putting in some ladders because it's going to be very important for us to get back up onto this walkway easily, should the need arise. And you might think, well, what kind of need could there be? Well, I mean, there's spiders. Gal hinted that there might be some kind of natural disaster thing. Is that going to apply? Oh no, I'm not giving you any spoilers on that one just yet. You're gonna have to wait and see. In the meantime though, we have unlocked 3 new things. We've got the, it's called a fabricator. We've got a pistol, and we have got the recipe station.
Good weapon.
Now the recipe station is pretty handy. It's a way of, I guess, getting new or enhanced recipes along the way. But the biggest and most exciting thing that we've got right now is this pistol. It's much better range than trying to kill things with a mining tool. Is it a perfect solution? No, hell no. But we'll deal with that down the line. For the moment, it's enough to get the job done. Except we had to make ourselves some ammo. Ammo for the pistol is cheap because you just use that universal kind of building block and you can make some pistol ammo. Now, of note, this pistol is reasonably realistic in the sense that if you've got a loaded mag, or you've got a mag with at least 1 round in it, and you hit reload, well, that 1 round is in the chamber and it then adds a full mag. So the mag for this is only 8 bullets. But as you can see on the back of the readout, it's got 9 bullets, and that's because we are locked and loaded with 1 round in the chamber. And you might think, why am I bothering with that? Oh yeah, you'll see enough of an example of that a bit later. But suffice to say, every bullet you can have available is going to help. Yeah, as a diehard Counter-Strike back in the days when it was a mod for Half-Life, you reload literally anytime you're not shooting. If your gun is not fully reloaded, you hit that reload button. Now, there's a bit going on in the background here, and this will be that natural disaster that Gal hinted at and I also had a bit of a talk about. Ruptura, which is the name of the star, is unstable, and periodically you will get one of these waves. They are spectacular, and I'm just going to shut up now so you can appreciate what happens.
Ruptura's eruption has started. Prepare for impact.
Reminds me of an Australian summer, really. Anyway, yes, there is a solar wave that comes out, and this is the reason why I put the panoramic windows in, so you guys could have a really good look. And honestly, I've seen this a few times, and it never gets old. It's fantastic. I love the effect. Now, we can't get outside at the moment. Now, it says hold E to lower temperature. You can actually use the mining tool to reduce the temperature of the airlock door. I'm not doing that during this playthrough, at least not yet, because there's actually a bug that can potentially cause some save game issues if you do it that way. So for the moment, we are just going to literally wait it out until the place is cool enough for us to go outside. Now, it doesn't take a huge amount of time for this to happen. Like, I haven't sped any of this up. It's something that happens, I don't know, in a minute and a half kind of thing. So you don't need to wait a world of time. This is where we also notice that the lights on the like the platforms is still red, and that's an indicator. That's not necessarily a power issue, that is a temperature issue. And boom, as soon as they turn blue, you're going to be able to go outside, and anywhere within the radius of this shield has now been cooled down sufficiently that we can just carry on with what we're doing. So that is exactly what we're going to do. We unlocked a fabricator, so we're just going to try and integrate that into our existing little factory. There's a bit of me umming and ahhing about where I want to put it. It's alright. We come to a suitable conclusion here pretty soon. And we're going to want to put in a couple of these because there's actually two products that we can make, and you can obviously only make one of them at a time with a fabricator, so we're just going to put two fabricators in. The two products that we can make, one of them is titanium rods and the other is a previously mentioned wolfram wire. So we're going to get all of that integrated and happening. While I'm doing that in the background, it's worth noting that this is effectively a whole new planet now, post-wave, because everything organic that was outside has been roasted. Now, that means at this point there are no plants around. It also means there are no spiders around. And it takes time for these things to respawn. Now, it does have some other implications along the way, and I won't sort of go into those just yet because it's probably going to be another episode or so before we dip our toes in that particular aspect of the gameplay. But for the moment, we're in a bit of a unique spot. From a survival standpoint, if we didn't have any of our rations or we didn't have any of our pre-gathered food and drink with us, we'd be screwed because there's no more plants or things out there that we can gather to restock our food and water. So it's worth bearing in mind that, yeah, there's a reason why I said see a thing, gather a thing, because there are periods where those things will not be around for you to gather. And this is the period, and it's not a short period either. It takes quite a while for everything to regrow, as you would expect. Now, with the eruption, we do actually get a bit of a refresh on the meteorites, so we get some extra meteorites on the ground. They can be useful for getting more meteorite hearts, and it's a meteorite heart that we need to be able to build one of these shields. So they're pretty important, and certainly this is not the only base that you're going to necessarily want. Given there's a prospect of one of these waves happening, well, not literally at any moment, but they're semi-regular. So by definition, that is going to limit how far you can go before you risk having gone too far to be able to turn back in time for the next wave. So you're going to want to keep a few meteorite hearts spare, so that when you're out and about, if you're out too far, have the resources with you, including the meteorite hearts, so you can throw down a new shield, a new hab unit the airlock, obviously, and look, optionally, if you want to create a printer and some storage in there, look, I'll leave that up to you. But yeah, it's a good tactic to have. Now, getting back to the range of the shield is what's facilitating the cooling of the platform, and we can see right now this platform is it's still red hot. So anything that's outside the shield is going to remain red hot for quite a long time, because it's relying on the ambient environment temperature to try and cool down. And honestly, I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but it's going to quite literally be a hot minute. Sorry, I had to go there. Sorry, guys. But with this wave, and I would make an argument to save your factory improvements for not this period of time, because there's actually a lot that you can get out and do during this period by taking advantage of the fact that there's no spiders around. So just a little pro tip there. But we've got out and about before the plants have started to come back, which means there's not really any spiders around. So we're going to look at doing a bit of an expansion out here, and we're going to tap those calcium resources and start getting something in place to get that funneled back to base. So that'll be something we work on in the background. Except I've realised that I didn't bring a meteorite heart with me. I left them in the storage at the base. So we're just going to go out and gather a few resources and get ourselves a meteorite so that we can get a heart and we can get that whole, you know, shield, hab unit, all the rest of it underway. So let's get on with that little bit of future expansion. Now, fun fact, if you happen to have the resources on you, and you're out and about, and you get the incoming wave warning, you have, if you're reasonably coordinated, which I think we've long since established that yeah, there might be some issues there. You can actually get a shield, a hab unit, and an airlock down in a matter of, 30 seconds or a minute, and that may save your life. I did it one day during the co-op playtest, and Itchy, who I was playing with, was somewhat surprised that I managed to get the job done in the time frame, and quite honestly, I was a bit surprised as well. So, yeah, you will get the hang of the building system. Trying to build platforms from underneath, though, I don't think I'm ever going to get the hang of that. The way the grid works is just a bit, I don't know, it's a bit different, and it's different enough that I haven't quite got the hang of building platforms from underneath. So, at least for the foreseeable future, you're going to see me building them from above, and as you can see, that seems to work pretty well. So, we're going to stick with that. Yeah, not much else to report at this stage, so we're going to carry on with our exercise here in trying to get some mining machines going on these calcium deposits and start looking at trying to route that back to our base.
Arcadia 7 has finished regenerating.
Okay, so you are going to hear that message, you know, at an appropriate time after each wave. That's your message to let you know that essentially the planet's now restored. So plants are, you know, growing their usual stuff. The spiders will be back, definitely. And some of the other gameplay elements have been returned to their normal configuration. So that time period between the wave and effectively now can be used to kind of exploit the fact that there are no spiders around. We'll go more into that, I would say, in the next episode is kind of what I'm planning. But for the moment, understand that from a survival / food / water standpoint, it's a significant period that you need to be a little bit prepared for. Now, it's not hard to be prepared for that period because, as I have observed previously, the tapeworm in this game is not hugely aggressive, and I think to an extent it is actually linked to your activity. And so if you're kind of idle, you know, for the few minutes while you wait for the planet to cool down after a wave, I don't think you go through very much in the way of resources. It's more that when you're out and about and you're running around and you're in combat and all that other stuff, I think your metabolism kind of kicks in a bit as you'd expect, and that's when you're going to go through your calories. And I think that's an extremely good system. Some of these other games I've played, and Raft, I'm definitely looking at you for this one, where the metabolism it's not just a flat rate. So regardless of whether you're AFK on your raft or whether you're running around stabbing sharks, your metabolism runs at the same speed, and that speed is basically flat out. It's not, you know, it obviously adds a layer of difficulty to the game, and that's fine, and I've done my playthrough and, you know, I'm at peace with that side of the game, but it's not necessary, and it does detract from, you know, maybe inserting some other mechanics in place of the need to constantly look for food and water. Just saying. But StarRupture, it's ticking that box as far as I'm concerned in terms of there is a ton of gameplay here, and so much so that they've not reverted to some of the tropes in survival or factory games that kind of force you to spend a lot of time doing things that at their core they just aren't really that interesting. Well, to me they're not. So, yeah. Anyway. Planet's back to normal. We've got our little calcium mine up and running. Now, at this lake, we can see the plants have started growing back. And we have ourselves another downed drone. And you get these things, logic boards. And the further out you get, the more research points you get from the items. So the ones that you find in and around your starting area, they're worth a few research points and they're definitely handy, so I'll never skip one.
Come here.
But as you get further out, they get riskier to obtain, but with that risk you get a bucket load more research points. So whenever we get to that point, you'll definitely see the benefits to getting those more advanced items for research. But for the moment, you're just going to have to take my word for it that they're out there, and they are definitely worth the effort of collecting them. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that in the future episode. For the moment though, we are pushing out in this direction, and yep, it crawls. So in the old, in the Aliens movie, when they're doing the initial mission briefing, and one of the soldiers pipes in and he goes, this is a bug hunt, isn't it? And yeah, no, the briefing officer says an unknown xenomorph may be involved. Yeah, it's definitely a bug hunt. So the bugs here are, well, spiders. And, well, universally, we accept their existence, but at the same time, we would rather do without them. So that is what we are here with our pistol and a decent amount of ammunition to ensure happens. And one thing of note with these weapons, there'll be times where you might be trying to snipe them at a bit of a long range, and you might think, God, I must be missing a lot because I've put like 3 bullets into this thing. And you do get a little bit of feedback when you hit something, and you might think, yeah, so you get the little cross there and the red cross when it's like a critical hit. You get a bit of feedback to say when you're hitting things.
What is that?
Now, the further away something is, visually the harder it is to work out whether you actually hit it or not, you know, short of that feedback. And further out, you will notice that it takes a lot more shots, and you might be, you know, doubting whether you're hitting or not, but you're getting the indicator to say, yes, you have hit. Well, I think observationally, at least during the co-op playtest, and I haven't properly tested it here yet, I'll do it later when I get a decent rifle, but there is a bit of a drop-off in damage the further away something is, and it's got nothing to do with whether you've, you know, made a decent hit on them or not. For an equivalent, I'll say the equivalent spot on the critter, hitting it at longer range, it will take more shots to kill it. That's just how the mechanic is. I guess the bullets do less damage the further they travel. It's fine. You learn to live with that.
Gotcha.
Most of the time, you can let the spiders get reasonably close to do more effective damage to them, and that is what you're generally going to want to do with the pistol, because you have so few rounds available to you, and the reload... From what I understand, the reload, if you're not the warrior, it's a little bit on the slow side. So much so that dealing with a cloud of these spiders, in the warrior it's a handful. In any other of the classes, you can get overwhelmed and die. So there is a definite combat advantage to having this guy, but that's balanced off with... you pay for it in the cost for research and things like that. So it's a really well balanced out game in that regard. Because I, well, you know, shoot first and ask questions later is my default stance with a lot of these games, and rightly so here in StarRupture. This is why I went with a warrior here, and of interest I actually went with a warrior in the co-op playtest as well. And I loved every minute of it. So, yeah. Now, this little pit thing, we're going to come back to that. There's a few of them around, and inside each of them there is unique resources that you can get, but we can't get access to it at the moment. But it was covered in vines, and vines are organic. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. Those caverns are accessible after a wave, up to the point where you get the message to say that Arcadia is returning to normal, and that's usually where the vines start regrowing. And then when you get the message to say Arcadia has, I can't remember what it was, Arcadia has been restored or it's back to normal or whatever Gal says, by the time she says that, those caves have been resealed. Now, if you happen to be in one, there are ways that you can get out, but if you're outside, you cannot access them based on what we have available currently. I don't know if we might get explosives or something later to make it possible to access, but for the moment, we're just going to assume that outside of that available period immediately after a wave, those caves are going to remain inaccessible. So, yeah. But don't worry, we will get a fair chance to explore potentially quite a lot of them in future episodes. For the moment, though, we're just going to make a mental note that they're there. There are quite a lot of them around the map, just like the crash drones and the dead bodies. And yeah, we're going to be looting a ton of that stuff because all of it is very useful at this stage. So yeah. Anyway, we finally remembered to put the couple of bits on this hab unit that we forgot to put on it, and that is to say an airlock and a few other mod cons. Now that we've done that and we're happy that that base is a suitable place to seek shelter if we need to, we're running back and we're going to see if we can get some more exploring done, loot some more stuff, and if necessary, put a few bullets in a few bugs.
Come here.
Ah, yes. Always feels good to exterminate some vermin first thing in the morning. Actually, speaking of mornings and nights, yeah, you don't really have any on Arcadia, because we appear to be tidally locked to the star. Basically, the star remains in the same position on our horizon 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, yeah, there is that. Now, we have a little bit more exploring to do up here. We've kind of circled back towards our base. Now, this ridge line that's on our right, the other side of that is actually our landing probe. So that's our original starting point that we arrived at for the start of the tutorial. Over there, where there is green, in this game, green is bad. That is a radiation field, and we're going to have to learn to deal with that at a later date. And that later date is going to be a long way down the track, if at all. But we have got a bucket load of map to explore before we ever have to worry about venturing into that area. And we are going to be exploring every last, well, maybe not square millimetre of it, but you get the idea. We're back here to pick up some rewards. We now have our regeneration chamber. Now, Gal's going to give us a bit of a spiel about this in a moment, but essentially this is our respawn point if we die. So it provides us with a fresh sleeve that our consciousness gets downloaded into. Obviously we won't have our weapon or anything like that, so you do need to repurchase those items if you have them. But you don't need to re-unlock them, so you don't lose your tech tree. You just have to deal with the fact that you don't have any of the physical items on you that you had when you died. That said though, you do leave a body, so if you are carrying anything around, you can go back to that gravestone to pick it up, much as you would in a lot of other games. Now, we are looking at our, corporation sacrifices. The calcium, I'm looking at that and I'm just like, it's 1,500
nice.
points worth of calcium. Alright, let's hand load that to get that started. But that was too slow, so I put a little cut in there. That was because I just joined the rail for the calcium onto our existing factory. Before I now come inside, and we're going to drop our regeneration chamber.
Your printing point has been updated. When you happen to die, I will send your mind here, and this is where your sleeve will be printed.
When?
Apologies, if you happen to die.
Sorry, if you die. Yes, if, yes, not when, if. It's alright. There's not much of a death penalty in this game at all. So never be afraid to, push out and do some exploring and whatnot. Just if it looks like you are gonna die, just try and get back to somewhere where you can at least loot your body. That's pretty much all you have to worry about. Now, this is our recipe station. This is where we can learn additional recipes beyond the default ones. Now, this is where you end up spending, or can spend, quite a lot of research points if you wish to. Obviously, depending a lot on what types of recipes you want to unlock. So, there are things like advanced building materials, there are... I can't remember what all the other recipes are. Gal's having a bit of a spiel in the background, but it's all basically just to establish that, look, these are not unlocked by default when you build the initial machine, because they have to be customized for local conditions, or at least that's the excuse that the Claywood Corporation is coming up with as to why you don't have default access, which is fine. So we are unlocking the ability to make the basic building material in the fabricator. I don't know that we're ever really going to need that, but it means we can automate it, and we could set it up to just unload into a can, and then that way, as we want to expand our factory in the future, we don't need to manually go and get ore of the two types and then come back in here to our building machine and have to make them by hand. But then they are in themselves a component in making other stuff. Like, for example, our pistol ammunition uses the building blocks to be made, so that sort of thing can potentially become useful down the line. If it does,
Let's
I'll
send this.
definitely incorporate that in a future episode. For the moment, though, we've identified that it's very easy to use up the points that we had. And yeah, we decided to just research the hell out of everything else that we had in our bag at the same time to give us some more research points. We're going to do a bit of an unload here. We're going to make some more building blocks. And then I believe we are going to go out and do some more exploring. Who's ready for a bit of that action? I know I am. Well, before we get out and do some exploring, I thought that this amount of calcium that was coming down the line was, well, it needed a bit of work. And I was concerned that it might have been a bug with how I had all of this wired up. Yeah, it wasn't. It was just... I'm still sort of getting used to the whole demand system that they have for StarRupture. It's a bloody good system. I love it to death, but I'm just so used to seeing full belts everywhere, and whenever I see a full belt, my brain's like, oh, rather, when I don't see a full belt, my brain's like, oh, that's not working optimally, and honestly, that is years and years and years of playing factory games. Just program your brain to just look for that. But in this case, it's just completely unnecessary, because StarRupture, if it's on a belt, it means it's destined to go somewhere that needs it. If it's not on the belt, then your factory doesn't need it, or you haven't plugged it in. So in this case, it's all plugged in, and these other miners just aren't being utilised because they're not needed. That one miner is providing us with enough throughput to put the calcium into the launcher without the launcher running dry. And that's it, and it'll keep doing that until the goal is reached, and then it'll stop. So yeah, anyway, that's where we're at here, and we've established that, yeah, we are gradually tiptoeing towards our next goals, and we can see when we first checked before we made the change, there was about 50 or 60 calcium in there. We've done all of those changes, we've come back, and there is still 50 to 60 calcium in there. So it's obviously just trickling it out at a rate that the launcher can deal with, and we're just going to live with that. Now, if we wanted to reach our goal quicker, we could configure multiple launchers to go towards the same goal, and had that thought occurred to me, I probably would have done it by now. But yeah, look, we're slow and steady wins the race on this one. And that means we can go out, we can do some exploring, we can put down some other sort of exploration hubs and you know, habs and whatnot out here, so that while we are exploring, we don't need to be quite as conscious of how soon the next wave could be coming, because we'll always have a safe shelter nearby. So yeah, now on that, we need a meteorite core for our next shield station type thing. We're just going to mine this meteorite to get one, and then we're going to push on. Now, we are getting sort of close-ish to the end of the episode. We are working towards a location and a timing. Now, the location is not the one over there, it's the one up there. There's a ruin up on that hill, and that's kind of our first significant location that we're going to end up exploring. We're not doing it in this episode. That will be first on my list of things to do in the next episode. For the moment, we're just going to keep gathering some bits and pieces, and we're going to keep sticking our nose in places that it probably doesn't need to go. Now, I did talk over the GAL briefing on these obelisks earlier. They are highly radioactive, and if you spend too much time near them, look, you may not grow an extra testicle, but they will kill you if you get saturated with radiation. If that radiation bar fills up, that's when you start taking damage to your health. When you run out of health, well, you die. And I won't say an expert, but I've definitely experienced that before in the co-op playthrough, where I underestimated the amount of time it was going to take me to get clear of a radiation zone, and well, yeah, I died about 3 inches short of not being in the radiation zone anymore. So yeah, the radiation's not fun. And some of these ruins are definitely not fun. But the one that we're going to head to first is it's the logical place to start, because it's one of the easier ones to get to, and as far as challenges go, it's about all we're going to be up for at the moment with just the pistol. I'm not going to spoil it too much more than that. If you want more information on that, you're just going to have to wait for the next episode. As for the rest of this episode, what we're going to do, we're going to work our way up this hill, and we're going to put down a shield and a hab unit somewhere where it is going to be useful, both for our explorations, but also, as you can see, there is additional titanium resources over this side of the valley as well. I don't know if I'm going to end up needing it or not, but if we put ourselves a suitable hab unit and shield close to this, it will leave the door open to mine this in the future if we need it. And that is exactly what we're going to do. So you can see the titanium is only just down the hill there. You can see our other 2 bases with their shields, and you can start to see the ruins on the hill in a little bit more detail. I think this is going to be a really good place to put our shield, or our base core, which is what it's called. We're going to slap that down there. We're going to put a hab unit next to it, and we're going to put in all of our usual mod cons. And then we're going to have a bit of a think about what else we might be able to achieve before the end of this episode.
Rupture activity detected. I recommend finding a safe place.
Oh, what do you know about that? Here's a safe place we prepared earlier. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's me playing a bunch of MMOs back in the day when you really had to have a good mental clock. Yeah, shout out to all the enchanters back in the old EverQuest days with crowd control. I was one of them. I just have a subconscious kind of awareness of when stuff sort of falls due. Now, I believe there's an element of variability with these waves, but they're all vaguely in a similar time frame. Now, could I put a number on that? No. It's just a gut feeling based on how long it's been since we got the message to say that Arcadia has recovered. So I sort of, the whole time I was coming across, I was a bit kind of aware that we're getting pretty close to when the next wave is going to happen. Not urgently so, but I made sure I was prepared just in case my timing was off. But as you can see, my timing was not off. It was spot on. So here we are prepared. We have our panoramic window, and we are about to have a wave incoming. The other thing that we have incoming is the end of the episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell as a way of letting me know that you love this content and you want to see more. Similarly, feel free to leave a comment down below. I try and respond to all of them, so if you've got any thoughts or feedback or suggestions or questions or any of that stuff, leave it down below. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and above all, make sure you have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.